Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm the General of Rome and today I'm going to do my first Europa Universalis 4 playing guide, in which I will be explaining the grand strategy game called Europa Universalis 4, made by the Swedish producer Paradox Interactive. So this is a grand strategy game, which means there's a whole lot going on and most people do not understand this game until they have played like at least 50 hours of it. And even I, who has played this game for more than 2000 hours, will still discover new things every time I play this. So in this first guide, I'm not actually going to get into the game. I'm just going to explain the main menu and all the options that are available here. So first of all, you have a tutorial here. The tutorials in grand strategy games from Paradox aren't that great, which is one of the main reasons that I'm doing this guide right now, because these things, while they might give you some basic information on how to move units, you will still not feel like you're in control of your nation when you're playing this tutorial. So yeah, you could still do this, but I recommend watching guides, watching other YouTubers on my YouTube channel to see people play, because both watching guides and seeing people play will probably be the best ways to learn this game, other than just trying and failing a lot yourself, and by that slowly learning how to be better at this game. Credits, yeah, just the normal shit. Now the options over here are a few options. Now be careful, these options, there are other options later on. But there are other screens for options, but this screen is a screen that you can also enter when you're in the game. So some game options. You have an autosave interval, which means that well, basically the game will make an autosave every year or every 5 years, or never monthly, half a year, yearly. You can autosave to the cloud. I am not sure you want to do this. It might be fixed right now, but I know that in the past, the saving to the cloud would severely slow your game down, so I recommend you don't do this, at least not if you have enough room on your computer to keep the save files. And compressed save files, yeah, they'll make the files a little bit less big, but yeah, you don't need that. Here we have some options for basically your graphics and how you want the game to run. So you want to have it in a windowed or full screen. Resolution, of course. Well, I'm not gonna click this shit because I don't want the game to fuck up, but yeah, make sure that you are playing in the right resolution, of course. A whole lot of options. These are graphic stuff. These are all things, if you have a computer that is just barely able to run this game, you probably want to turn these things off, because they will lower, if you have these things on, they will lower the speed that you're playing on. But yeah, these things are they're all things that will make the game look a little bit more nice. Now, audio, just the normal stuff. You can turn on music, which I won't have on in these guides, just because I want you to be able to hear my voice. One thing good about the music in EU form, the company Paradox, they're really nice people, and they actually are letting you record their music if you have a YouTube account and want to play this game. They don't mind if you use the music. So yeah, that's actually really good. Controls just some mouse options. Over here with content, you can see all the DLCs that I have currently active, and all the mods that I have active right now. Right now, I only have some graphical mods on that will, in my opinion, make the game look a little bit more nice. Oh, never mind, I just clicked the wrong button. Just go back. Right now here, of course, is the exit button, and there's a whole lot of buttons over here that will send you to sites from the makers of the game. I think this one will guide you to Paradox Plaza, which is the site of the makers of the game, and these are just Facebook and Twitter pages for the producers themselves. Now, as you can see over here, you will see a flag and continue game for the Netherlands. Now, this is something they added later on in the game, and basically this over here is the last save file that you have saved. So this is just a way to quickly get back into the game that you were playing. Now you have two options here to go to single player or multiplayer. Be careful if you want to play multiplayer not to first click single player, because at the moment that you have clicked single player and you want to play multiplayer, you will have to exit the game again to enter multiplayer. Because if you get back to this screen somehow, which isn't possible anymore, because if you have clicked single player and you want to go back, the game will crash and restart. But basically, you can't get to multiplayer if you have already clicked single player. Now, the other way around, I think, is fine. And this will bring you to a screen which, as you can see, there's only one game available right now, and it has a passport on it. So yeah, this is the one big downfall of EU4. There's not that big of a multiplayer community. It might have something to do with the fact that the game doesn't run that well on multiplayer. So the game will progress really slowly if you are playing with multiplayer, and most people that are playing multiplayer will never reach the end of the game, because it takes forever to fully play a campaign on multiplayer. Alright, now we will go on to the menu here, where you can select every single nation. So yeah, if you haven't played this game before, you are gonna be impressed by this map, because there's a lot of shit going on. Which again is one of the main reasons that I'm doing this guide, because I will try to make you feel less terrified by all the things that's going on here. So over here you can scroll down, and all these names over here, these are all bookmarks. So these are starting dates that the developers have recommended that you will start on. The overwhelming majority of people that are playing this game will be playing in the first bookmark, called The Rise of the Ottomans. Now, as you can see, the next 3 bookmarks are the exact same date with other names. I want you to pay attention to all these flags. Then I'll click on the next one. As you can see, the flags have changed. So what is this exactly? Well, basically because Paradox knows that most people will play in the earliest bookmark. They have made 4 different bookmarks for the same date, and all the 4 bookmarks will focus on a different region of the world. So the first one is basically centered around Europe, and these nations are nations that they call interesting choices, which basically means that they will historically become great powers. So yeah, these are nations that will be at least decently uh, easy to play as in comparison to other nations. As you can see, the first three nations, the Ottomans, Castile, and Portugal, they have this green glow around them. And this basically means that these nations are pretty easy to play as. So if you're playing your first game of EU4, you might want to select one of these three nations because yeah, they're pretty easy to play. For example, if you play as Portugal, Portugal is really easy to play as long as you keep Castile friendly. If you play as Portugal and you keep Castile friendly, you're pretty much guaranteed to survive. So yeah, moving on, we have other bookmarks. So as you can see, the last bookmark is starts at 1792. So this game runs from 1444 until 1821, and you can play as every single nation on the map in this time period. So for example, if you just click on a random little blob over here, it will take you to that nation. So yeah, there's just a lot of bookmarks which most people don't play, and as you can see, the world will look pretty much a little bit differently every time you progress into another bookmark. But yeah, I think I have spent enough time talking about these bookmarks, and we will move on to this stuff over here. Although I won't go into this stuff that much. Basically, these are map modes, which means that yeah, the whole world will look differently. And I'll be explaining more about that in other guides. So the last thing that no, not the last thing, there's actually a few different things that we need to talk about, but one other thing that I will be talking about in this particular guide is this screen over here. So this screen will tell you a little bit about what kind of nation you have selected. So right now I've selected the Ottomans. As you can see here, they have the government rank kingdom. There are three government ranks: duchy, kingdom, and empire. Basically, the higher you get, the better it is for you. Because if you are an empire, you get a lot more bonuses than when you are a duchy. For example, if you just pick one little guy over here like Würzburg, this is a duchy. And I think the only example of an empire in this state of the game is Ming. Yeah, they are an empire. So moving on, see this this little figure over here, this mask, and it says that the Ottomans have the tech group Anatolian. Now, tech groups used to be very important in this game, and they aren't that important anymore. Basically, they used to calculate how difficult it was to progress in technology. But they scrapped that, and now they have another way to make sure that you progress in technology called institutions. And right now, the only thing that tech groups are calculating is the different kinds of units that you will be getting. Like for example, Hungary has Eastern units, and pretty much all of Western Europe, they have Western technology, which means that they will have Western unit types. Now, the Ottomans, they have the Anatolian unit types, and basically some technology groups, they will be better at certain times. like the Ottoman technology group, the Anatolians, they will be really good in the early game, but they will fall behind in the late game. While Western might be a little bit worse in the absolute early game than the Ottoman tech group, but they will later on be a lot better. Moving on, this is basically the flag of the nation, nothing to worry about there. Moving on, we have this symbol with a moon and a star, and it says Sunni. Sunni is the religion that this particular country has. So you have state religions, and you have, I don't want to go into this too much. Basically, this is the religion that you that your nation has accepted, and other nations have accepted other religions, and you won't accept other religions. So as long as a province has the religion that you have accepted, there will be less chance of them being upset. Also, these religions will give you different bonuses that I will be talking about in a guide video talking about religions. Now over here, you will see that the Ottomans are a sultanate, which means this basically is their government type, and it will give you different types of bonuses. Every single nation has a government type, and some nations will have some nations have a government type that other nations can't get, but most Western European nations will start with a feudal monarchy. Moving on, we have the ruler, and as you can see, the ruler has stats. I will be talking about this stuff later on. I also, I really shouldn't be talking about this shit that deeply because, I will be talking about this shit in other videos. So I'll just get through this a little bit faster. Basically, you have pips here. You will have different numbers here, and basically, if these numbers are high, you will have a lot easier time early on. Ideas I will be talking about later on. These are just nation-based bonuses that a nation will get later on in the game. And here you have diplomacy, which is basically the diplomatic state in which you are at the start of the game. Now, something else that you can see over here are different types of DLC that I have right now. Right now there are, let's see. Right now I have 8 DLCs selected. In total, right now there are 9 big DLCs. Expansions they're called. I don't have the last one because even though I like the expansion, I don't want to pay the full price, and I'll just be waiting until it's in a sale, and then I will buy it. And all these DLCs, they will add a whole bunch of different options. One of these options is the random new world. I think it's based on the expansion called Eldorado, and basically what it will be doing is that it will generate a whole different continent instead of North and South America. So yeah, let's just click this shit, and right now it's just generating a new world. There are a lot of different random new worlds, but most people don't play with random new worlds because most people don't like it. Now these random new worlds, they have really improved at this state of the game. They used to really look ugly, and now some of them really look nice actually. But a big problem with the random new world is that most random new worlds don't have that much land in them. Yeah, as you can see, this one doesn't have that much land in it either. There's just a whole bunch of little islands. But yeah, this random new world generator, basically, yeah, it just allows for you to, play a lot of games that feel a little bit differently. So if they're mostly interesting if you are playing as nations in Western Europe that will be colonizing. But, even the nations that spawn over here, they have different names and different flags. So these nations, they don't exist in the normal game. Next up, there will be another options screen. This is another options screen than the screen that I have talked about earlier. Over here, you can set the difficulty all the way from very easy to very hard. And basically, if you have very hard on, it will give you, well, basically the AI will have a whole bunch of bonuses, which means that you have a disadvantage, while if you are playing on very easy, the player gets the bonuses instead of the AI. Now, lucky nations basically means that some nations will get different bonuses. Most people don't like this because historical will just make the nations that historically became big have some bonuses. And then there's random, which in theory would be pretty amazing to just have random one province nations be able to rise up because they're lucky. So the game will play different every time. But random isn't actually random and will still give advantages to most big nations, which are the same nations as would be lucky when you play in historical. Now, next up is a option that is pretty much only useful when you're playing in multiplayer, to allow people to hop into the game while you're not in the loading screen. They're incognito in lobby. Will basically make sure that if you have this on, you can't see the whole map. You can only see what this particular nation that you've selected can see. So if I select Ming, not a good example. No, apparently I can't do this. Might have something to do with the fact that I have the random new world on, that you can't see this, while you can see everything over here. Right, let's just turn this off again. Use dynamic provinces name is just a little feature that will make sure that that provinces will have different names if a nation takes over which has a different culture. So different languages will have different names for certain provinces. So the name of the province will change if you take over the province. Show monthly tax income. Yeah, I've never used this, and I've no idea what it does. But it's probably just a thing that allows you to have another look at your income. Color-owned wastelands is something that most people do really like. Basically, you have these areas in the world called wastelands, which are provinces that you can travel to and nobody can own. They're just, for example, this is just a whole bunch of deserts that nobody wants to live in. So the way this used to work is that if you would own all of Africa, your name would be squeezed somewhere over here in Congo, and there wouldn't be any names over here on the whole on the whole continent. Why? Because not all of Africa is connected, because there are a lot of wastelands here. With this option on, the color-owned wastelands, your color and nation name will still cover the wastelands even though you don't own them, if you have a majority of the provinces that are around the wasteland. Which means that right now you will be able to get your name on all of Africa if you own all of Africa. Ex-slaves use region name. This is an option that has been added in a pretty recent patch, I think. And I used to really hate this option, and as you can see, I've still turned it on. Which means that I've learned to pretty much accept it. But I really do like the idea that you can turn it on and off if you don't like it. Basically, what it means is, for example, if you, as Austria, would own not only Austria but also some land in the Netherlands, but these lands won't be connected, then the lands that you have over here will have a name on the map called Austrian Netherlands or Austrian Low Countries or something like that, because the Low Countries is the region that this land is in. If you have this off, it will just say Austria over here. No limits on idea groups. Basically, this if you turn this off, you won't be allowed to pick only military ideas. And if you don't know what that means, I suggest you will look at the guides for idea groups. That hopefully at the point that you will be watching this, I have actually already uploaded, because otherwise, yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate for you that I just said that you can watch the guide. Fantasy Random New World. Right now I can't show it anymore because I already generated a random new world, but basically what this does is you can set that some nations will spawn in the random new worlds that are highly advanced, pretty much just like the European nations. So they will have the same technology group, basically, which means that they will be harder to fight off. The downfall of these nations is that they basically don't do anything in the whole game, which means that they're still not that big of a yeah, they're not that big of a problem to deal with anyway. But still, they're a nice addition, at least in theory. Now, multiplayer screen I can't click on because I'm not a multiplayer. Basically, yeah, just a few options like allowing an option to allow other people other than the host to get the save file of the game. Custom setup. These things, most people do not use them, but mostly this option over here and this option over here can really change the game a lot and will allow you to replay this game with a very different feeling than just playing the normal game. First off, you have custom nation difficulty. I will be talking about custom nations next after this screen. But yeah, basically, this option in this option you can set the amount of points that you can spend on a custom nation. So just leave it on very easy for now, just so I can show you some stuff over there. Province tax and manpower. These are just normal, basically historical values. And this has to do with this map mode. You can see a whole bunch of colors over here, from all the way red to green. And basically this means how important, how wealthy are certain provinces. If you turn this to random values that you accept, for example, Paris used to be very important, and now it only has 3 development, which means that it's pretty much useless. There's nothing to gain from conquering this province now. While Prague now pretty much is the center of Europe. And if you go for flat values, yeah, every single province has 11 development, which means that, yeah, every province is as valuable as the other provinces are. Just turn this to normal again. Nation setup. Basically, normal setup is just your normal game, but will allow you to make custom nations. If you go for historical setup, it will still be the same, but you can't make custom nations. Now, random setup is where the game really changes a lot. Because if you go for random setup, all nations will disappear from the map. And yeah, this is just a bug. There's not actually a nation here. It's just wasteland that has the color of the nation that used to be here. But yeah, every nation will disappear, and you'll be allowed to make a custom nation. And when you get into the game, the world will look a whole lot different. Because you won't see the nations that historically used to be in this region. There's just a whole bunch of randomly generated nations. Allow adding nations to save game basically means that if you set this to yes, you will be able to create custom nations in save files. And random nations basically has to do with the random setup here, because if you get this to historical, these nations that will spawn, they will take the flags and names from the nations that used to be in this area. While if you go for dynamic, they will just create names based on I think it was the region where their capital is, and they will just generate a random flag. Now I'll just leave this on here because I actually think I will enter the game, but only after we made a custom nation. Oh, actually, no. This is something that I will be doing in the next guide, because I think we have talked a lot, and there's a lot of information that you've gained in this guide, and I think I'll just have to end this this guide here, and you can go ahead and watch my next guide, which of course will in which of course we will be talking about custom nations and more about the random setup. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something, and see you next time.